Making a buzz this afternoon, a proposed bill in Tennessee aims to ban class discussions of homosexuality in elementary and middle schools. It is being dubbed the Don't Say Gay bill. The bill's sponsor says counselors would still be able to use the word gay and would have free rein on discussing issues of sexuality with a student. Now, supporters say the bill would protect the rights of parents to teach their children about sexuality as they see fit. Opponents, though, are concerned the bill would ban, for example, suicide prevention posters that reference sexual orientation. There's also concern about how it would affect student clubs, including gay-straight alliances. It's very ambiguous right now. So how do you feel about the so-called Don't Say Gay bill? Is it necessary, or is it trampling on the rights of students and staff, particularly those who are gay or lesbian?
Marketing and social media expert Amanda Vega is joining us to discuss this topic. And a lot of parents say, hey, back off. That's my job.
Sure. And that would be my initial thought, too. The unfortunate thing is I don't think that most parents are highly involved in their children's lives at this point anyway. And this is why, we have issues with bullying and things like that. My personal belief is that, sexual education conversations should be reserved for the sexual education class. But then you bring up the thing about the posters and stuff, and so that's a fine line that does make it an interesting consideration of how do you, consider protecting someone who's being bullied because of their sexual orientation stuff. I think these things are best left in the home, and I would hope that more parents would take the time to leave those conversations at home and structure and raise their children the way that they want to.
And what about tolerance? How important is it? We've got to start teaching students about tolerance at an earlier and earlier age because our society is changing.
I think there's an argument in another direction that we spend too much time talking about tolerance, and by the virtue of segmenting so many groups down to so many different levels, that in essence we are creating more of intolerance by segmenting people in the very conversations that we're having with our kids. So I wonder at some point, is too much too much? So that's kind of where I stand on it.
Speaking to tolerance, you mentioned that, and okay, again, the goal, of course, talking about this in school is to teach tolerance. If we leave that up to the parents, what if they're not doing their job? What if they are not teaching tolerance? What if they are teaching hate in that manner?
Sure. And they probably are. I mean, that's the sad, it's a little bit scary. And I think that in any legislation, one, we have to go way back to the question of should the schools be involved in this conversation? Where is the government getting involved in the school level, at the parenting level? And in terms of teaching tolerance, I think you can do it in broad strokes, and I think you should be able to include all of the subset categories that may be affected, especially if it's happening in those schools. But diving too deep, maybe there's a fine line between how deep you're going to go into that conversation and laying out things like posters that address broad strokes of, certain segments is fine, but digging deeper into a conversation, and reading books like, I have two moms, I have two dads, things like that may be better left, especially at the elementary level, to those parents to make that decision at that young of an age.
And you guys are really split on this as well on Facebook. Cassandra writes, I feel that if we keep children blind to it from such a young age, it will be harder for those children to become accepting of homosexuality as they get older.
Brian Pierce says, I believe as a parent, it's the parents' right to expose their children to what they feel is right, not schools, TV, or the media.
Judy Reynolds says there are children in every school in America who are dealing with being different, and they must be able to hear that there is nothing wrong with them.
Erica Austin says, I have gay friends, and I don't have a problem with that. It's the whole sexual stuff and trying to explain gay and straight to a child that young. That's up to the parents, in my opinion.